Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. Oh, Mac, if people could have seen our texts this weekend, which we will never release to the public, you would have seen us freaking out about North Carolina. Obviously, Clemson losing in just, I'm not even going to say unbelievable fashion because they do this every week. And then Pitt losing in a game that we both thought Pitt was going to win.
I was the most angry about that game.
Yeah, that was wild. I mean, so much went down this weekend, Mac.
It really did. And a lot of just, I don't know, weird things that happened. Questionable calls. I'm not going to go as hard as I did on TV with the officiating, but there was just some bad stuff.
You can.
There was just some bad stuff. Those guys, they have day jobs. I get it. We're all human. I would like to see the XFL replay system, though, where like they review everything. Like there's no question marks about what happens, in that.
That's interesting.
I would love to see that adopted. And I know that takes more work and more effort and whatever, but like, let's get it right. Like there was a couple games I think that were lost because of
sure.
like think of Miami a couple weeks ago.
I know. That's what I was just thinking of.
That would not have happened. There was no way that would have happened. So, it's brutal is what it is. At the end of the day, if you take sports betting, if you take emotional ties, if you take alumni ties out of all of it, it was an awesome weekend. Like, it was crazy. There was nuts, really good football. The ACC, I think, is proving right now that you cannot have an off weekend. You can not take anybody lightly. You have to be fully invested into winning, and do not let teams hang around because they will beat you. Shout out Virginia. First time ever. Top 10 on the road. Coach E and the boys got it done. A game that North Carolina should have sleptwalked to a victory, and they absolutely didn't. So we'll talk about all that, KG. Really fun, super intriguing weekend. But first, we've got a basketball tournament coming up real soon.
Come on, let's go. So basketball season gets started in a few weeks. We do have media days this week, so I'll be on the telly on Tuesday if you want to check it out on the ACC Network. But more importantly, Ingles is sponsoring this great tournament in Asheville called the Asheville Championship. Clemson's playing in it, as well as Maryland, Davidson, UAB. You got to go get your tickets, AshevilleChampionship.com. Check out this little commercial we have for the tournament.
College basketball is kicking off with the Asheville Championship at the Harris Cherokee Center, Asheville on November 10th and 12th, featuring my Clemson Tigers, Maryland, Davidson, and UAB. Tickets are on sale now at AshevilleChampionship.com. Save your spot, cheer on your team at the Asheville Championship, November 10th and 12th. Again, that's AshevilleChampionship.com. Get your tickets today.
Mac, let's start with the games that we had in our big game breakdown. And I think both games delivered in terms of just intrigue and atmospheres and things of that nature. Number 4, Florida State continues to handle their business, unlike some other teams. They beat number 16 Duke 38-20. Now, this game, it was very close in the first half, and Duke looked very good in the first half. They looked really physical. They looked like they were winning both lines of scrimmage, I thought. Riley Leonard does not return. He does start, but he doesn't return. That was an issue, I think. Not that Riley was lighting things up necessarily, but Duke is just different with him on the field.
Right.
Would FSU still have won with Riley out there? I think so. I think FSU would have worn Duke down at some point. I do. But because it's not like Riley has been passing for 400 yards in every game.
Sure.
FSU gets the job done, Mac. What did you see here?
Yeah, and well, first of all, it was such a physical game. And
yeah,
really,
it was.
Outside of Florida State just blowing it open in the fourth quarter, scoring 21 points, this game kind of went, how I thought it would. Duke trying to play a little bit of keep away in the first half, running the ball extremely effective, and really just impressive the way that they did it. Had a massive run there to score a touchdown, had a pick six, a really impactful.
That was huge.
Jordan Travis just kind of sitting there. They weren't really blitzing, bringing pressure, and they got pressure up front with their front four, made him move around a little bit. He forced the issue. Ball popped straight up into a young man's hands, takes it to the house, and you're just like, whoa, like that was a big deal. And, of course, Florida State does what champions do. The very next play, like a 103-yard kick return to the house by Deuce Spahn there. So it was very impressive to see all that. and then the second half happens, and Riley gets hurt again, and it was
Oh,
brutal.
when
I
you
hated to see it.
when you
Yeah.
retweak
What does that
an
feel like?
already
I've never experienced that. What is that like,
oh,
KG?
I can tell you, my ankles, man. I broke my right ankle. I've sprained every ankle every time, all the ways. And I've had games, specifically more in high school. I didn't miss any games in college, but in high school I had some ankle issues. When you already have a tender ankle
Mm-hmm.
and you start the game not really thinking about it. You start, okay, I'm back, I'm fine, I've got this thing taped up. But
Yeah.
the second it takes just a little thing to tweak
Right.
it because that thing is fresh. The second you tweak it, it feels way worse than you did when you first sprained it
Gosh.
because it's already so tender, and then you retweak it again, and then you're done. Like, you can't run from that thing. And that's what happened to Riley, obviously.
And that's from a basketball perspective. That's like a hard court.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, kind of moving around, your foot sloshing
Yeah,
around.
trying to run
and
for your
grab.
life where people
Yeah,
can try to destroy you.
literally try to
Little
kill
different.
you there. So that stunk. And I was kind of, we've kind of been airing caution to that these last 3 weeks, since we saw the injury, like, take your time, blah, blah,
And he
blah.
wasn't 100%. That was obvious, even in the first
no
half.
question. But, I think the I don't know if it's a silver lining, if I want to call it a silver lining, but the one thing that I do think that you can look out of it in a positive manner is that dude will do anything for his team.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think there's any question about that. I just now hope that it's not worse, and now it's going to be even longer. And do we even see him again?
That's
this
the
season
risk
again.
you
Have
take.
no insight to the injury or what happens, and just big prayers up for him and his family that he gets past this okay. But so that happens. And then Florida State's like, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to start playing around and just light it up. 21 points in the fourth quarter. Duke could not throw the ball really the entire game, even when Riley was in there. 4 of 12, that was their third down efficiency. He's not great there either. 8 of 22.
Yeah.
Bad. I mean, just not able to throw it. And when they did, it was 3 yards a clip. So not great there. And Florida State just flexed their muscles. And that's what I thought, KG. When we did the halftime and we were covering that was kind of my note for the Noles, is saying, hey, look, this second half, I think that somebody's going to show up. Somebody's going to prove, hey, this is why we're a national championship caliber team. And that's exactly what happened. They played their best ball and went on an absolute tear. Jordan Travis was sweet. Outside of that pick six, he was really delivering dimes. And the running backs got involved in a plethora of ways in the passing game and the running game. I am interested to see about Johnny Wilson. He went down again.
Yeah.
And how much time is he going to miss? Or is it just, going to be something where he's back next week? So it'll be fascinating to see what happens with the Noles here from that perspective, from a health perspective. But it seems to me that these guys are peaking at the absolute right time.
I agree, Mac. And I think you can do without Johnny Wilson the next 2 weeks, Wake and Pitt, but you want him back probably for Miami. So We'll see what happens there with that injury. I thought FSU was really balanced, Mac. You didn't have a guy go off for 100 yards rushing or 100 yards passing. Jordan Travis, besides the pick, really controlled the game. That Keon Coleman catch, I know he only had 2 catches.
Caught it with his legs.
That was stupid. Like, that was not human. How on earth did he do that? I feel like every single game you have a play where you're like, how did Keon Coleman do that? That was crazy.
He's a legit alien. I mean, that's just the things that he can do.
Alien.
And really I tell you, the confidence that he has that just oozes from him. I feel like it makes everybody better. I feel like it makes JT better. Just all these guys, the way that they play when he is on the field, you're just like, okay, like it's game time. Let's go. And just such a special talent. I saw somewhere when we were doing TV on Saturday, Mel Kiper has him as the number 10 overall prospect. So this dude, I think, is going to be flying up draft boards.
Top 10 pick, maybe.
Yeah, would not be surprised at all if he's higher than that. Somewhere in the top 10 as the wide receiver number 2. I don't know if he can overtake Marvin Harrison Jr. That's probably a bad boy. He just went for a casual career high in catches and yards this past weekend against number 6 Penn State. But those two guys are just, they're making the team instantly better wherever they go.
Mm-hmm. It's so tough, Mac, because hindsight is 2020, but Duke has Louisville next week.
Yeah.
If Riley sits out another week, if he's able to be perhaps fully healthy, and now we just don't know. And you've got a Louisville game that, if you lose that, maybe you drop out of the top 25. I don't know.
Right.
But again, hindsight's 2020. And on the flip side for Florida State, you continue to roll. Doak Campbell was rocking. That was really good to see. I think FSU's depth, Riley obviously getting hurt, but also just the environment there, that kind of wore down Duke in that
Right.
second half, and the fans
Right.
didn't let up. But we will say, this was a backdoor cover, and that is frustrating.
Broke my heart.
But in the end, what are you going to do?
That's right. They go for on fourth down, like within their own territory. And I'm like, oh man, I know
why?
it's about to happen.
Why are we doing
It's
this?
about to happen. Just
Why are we doing
punt.
this?
You know, you're the guy screaming at the TV, just punt, and everyone's looking at you like, no, dude, they gotta go. What are you talking about?
And we're like, no, they don't.
You know, there's other reasons. Simmer down over there.
Yeah, there always are. But Florida State continues to make things happen. Let's get to the next game in our big game breakdown. Probably, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to say the wildest game, because UNC UVA was wild. Wake Pitt was crazy. Like, we'll get to that. But Clemson, Miami beats Clemson 28-20 in double overtime. Mac. Clemson loses to Miami with a backup freshman quarterback. Like, TVD didn't even play, which is wild, because you think if TVD does play, what does this game look like? But
right.
And I saw someone tweet this. I'm trying to remember who it was, and so I don't remember. But it was the idea of watching Clemson games before the last couple of years. If you're a Clemson fan, or just watching Clemson as a consumer, you would think, you would say good things are going to happen, right? Clemson's going to get maybe a break here or a break there. Clemson got a lot of breaks. You need to have some luck. You need to have some breaks to win a national championship. The last couple of years, at least me personally, I watch Clemson expecting the worst to happen. Like, truly. And I'm not even trying to make a joke. It's like weird, crazy, and at some point it becomes not fluky. Things happen. And either they're happening to Clemson, or Clemson's making them happen, with all these fumbles, of course, leading the nation in fumbles. But do you feel that? Like, do you get what I'm saying?
You know, I 100% feel you, because that Syracuse game, I felt very uncomfortable because it was all going Clemson's way, and I'm just like, whoa.
So it's completely flipped.
Right. This isn't
completely flipped from how people used to feel about Clemson.
What's going to happen? What's going to happen later in that game? I'm with you 100%. I mean, it is a very weird place that we are with Clemson right now, and it's funny. As these losses keep stacking up. I have kind of my immediate reactions, which are a little bit more hostile and aggravated, and then it's like you kind of think about it, and you're going through it. At the end of the day, this team just is average. Maybe below average, and the little things really bite them in the tail. Ball security, the lack thereof, it is mind blowing to me, shocking. I mean, that was such a point of emphasis while I was playing there, KG, to where, I mean, we talked about it every meeting, every day. I mean, BIJ, ball in jeopardy. That's all we would talk about. And guys would get minuses. Guys would get in trouble in practice. And so obviously not being in those meetings or being in the locker room, whatever, I don't know if that's still, is emphasized the same way. And clearly it's not, or this is just, I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
When you see these things happening, is it truly just such an anomaly to happen to this team right here? Because it is the most dire, impactful situations where that turnover occurs.
Every time.
Literally.
It's a 1 yard
walking
line
into the end zone. And
it's crazy.
Potentially, if you look at a pylon cam, how I would have loved to have seen how close it really was, to him breaking the plane there. Because it was, I mean, margin of error right here. I don't think he did get in. But just the fact that
he didn't. I don't think so. But it was so close.
That it was that close is just bizarre. And then the very next play, 80 yards to the house. Like, we haven't seen that since 2009. Actually, I know when we haven't seen it against Clemson. Like, they just don't give up that type of thing. And so that's kind of the first thing. Offensive line play, and this hurts me to even say it, but it's been brutal.
And by the way, it's not Mac's fault. Everyone tries to ask Mac what's wrong and make him fix it. It is not Mac's fault that Clemson's O-line is not good.
They also asked me to go coach it. Here's the deal. I don't want to go do that so you crazy people can then say I suck 2 years from now. There's nothing I'm doing wrong. And when you look at those things, it's just not great. You got a lot of young guys out there, which maybe that's promising that they're going to get better. It's not like it's laden with seniors throughout, and it's just like these guys just aren't good. It's just young, inexperienced guys that are getting their chance. And, I think that you're really seeing how important Jordan McFadden was to that offensive line, who was a mainstay there for a couple of different years. And guys are just having to play that aren't quite ready, but they have to.
But Mac, here's my question real quick with that. Because you're in a game where Clemson's offensive line really struggled. Miami ran for 211 yards, and their O-line looked pretty darn good. And Miami has gone to the portal and gotten guys.
What's that?
And yeah. So when you say something like, well, they're just young and inexperienced, I almost feel like, and this is not a criticism of you. This is just the statement. I almost feel like that can't be an excuse in college football anymore because you have the choice to go get yourself some experience.
No question.
Which is exactly what Miami did.
Yeah.
And Miami is better because of their O-line.
Right. Well, here's the deal. Their head coach looked you right in the eye and say, you're not good enough to play here. Get out.
Yeah.
This head coach will never do that. And so it's just.
But Cristobal didn't recruit those guys.
Sure.
Who he looked in the eye and said, you're not good enough.
It's probably easier for him to
But it's not on him, really. He didn't recruit them.
Sure. I'm just telling you, to make room, that takes getting rid of. And I just know the loyalty thing. It's his best, worst asset when you look at Coach Dabo Swinney, especially in this new world. And so that's a major problem. Major problem when you don't have that type of experience or that type of just skill, quite frankly, that is readily accessible. Like you said, go get it, go recruit it, go handle business. But choose to do it your way. And then quarterback play.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
It's the weirdest thing to me because you will see flashes of brilliance. You will see flashes where you're just like, whoo, that is a really good player. And then I also see flashes of this young man right now just doesn't know what he's looking at. It's just he's confused or making too much or trying to be whatever and just be a quarterback. Just be the guy. And I think that is difficult. Now, I do think at times maybe last year is creeping into his head. I got to be the spark. I got to be this. I got to be that. Instead of just playing, just being free.
Just manage the game.
Just manage
Make good decisions. That's the key to me.
That is interesting, to me, because we discussed that, especially that Notre Dame game where they put him in, roll him left, he throws a pick six. It's like, did you just break this kid? Like, did we just ruin, this quarterback looking at a year ago? Now, I don't think that, but there have been a lot of plays that unfortunately are on the quarterback that have led to losses. And, you look at this and Coach Swinney said it right after the game, right after the play, hand the ball off, hand the ball off. And then in the media says it was 100% a handoff.
This was the final play of the game, by the way. Where Clemson was about to score, honestly. Yeah.
And I think I think Ship walks in there and if he hands them the ball. So it is a bizarre situation from that aspect as well. Now, before I do give you a little bit of positive, because I think there is some in this game, the one more negative is the defense got absolutely housed. These guys were running the ball at 6 yards a clip.
Miami ran the ball. And they ran it with a guy that you really weren't afraid to pass it.
Right.
With the freshman quarterback.
Right. Exactly.
That's what's crazy.
It was mano-a-mano, manhandle you on both lines of scrimmage. Ruben Bain is a monster. I mean,
that guy.
Unblockable by Clemson. Nobody wanted any parts of him. He was tossing 300-pounders like it was nothing. Strip sack on the fumble. Safety, which was obviously a safety. I don't know what.
I don't know how on earth that wasn't called.
Thanks.
That was wild.
Yes, didn't work. Didn't help out anyway. Thanks though. He was abusing guys. Absolutely was impressive to see. And then again, going back to Miami's offensive line. But here's the thing that ticks me off, KG. Georgia Tech rolled into your house, giving up 240 rushing yards per game, and you did nothing. You could do nothing. Absolutely.
This is what ticks you off about Miami.
Yes. It's so stupid. Like, I fully expected this effort against them. So, can you only get up for certain games? Can you only get excited for that? I don't know.
A lot of teams have that issue.
Sure.
UNC.
But so from that aspect, there are parts of this ACC, and we'll talk about more of it throughout this deal here, that it drives me insane that you can look a certain way for 1 week and we see unbelievable effort. We see what we expect to see. And then the other week you can't. And so that drives me insane. But anyway, going back to the very positive, Emory Williams, we saw literal growth from him, like during the game there. The speed of the game slowed down. His second half was electric. First half, very slow. I thought the game was
Right.
way too fast for him. Couldn't make the right decision. Second half was absolutely electric. Wide receivers, Colby Young. Listen, you could have thrown it to Colby Young every play.
Yeah.
He was unguardable. Like, too big, too strong, too fast. So thankfully, he only had 6 receptions. It could have been a lot worse there for him. And of course, they ran the ball super effectively. But I somehow got way off track of saying how bad the Clemson defense played. Didn't tackle well, didn't run fit well. I mean, guys just missing total assignments and 0 sacks. Baffling when a quarterback throws it 33 times.
Especially a freshman QB making his first start.
Yeah, weird.
That's wild.
Weird. So a lot of negatives. A lot of negatives for the Clemson Tigers. But one positive, KG, I will say this. Clemson threw the ball downfield.
And they did try to take shots. Yep.
Completions of over 50 yards, multiple 20, and a handful of 30s. We hadn't seen that in 3 weeks. So that was good to see. It ultimately did not matter. But if there is some type of silver lining that you want to grab from this, we saw them push the ball downfield and whatever. There was just insurmountable negatives that also occurred.
Here's what's crazy for me about this, and I want to also give Miami a lot more credit, but I feel like you talk about silver lining. I feel like some, especially Clemson fans, because we know a lot of them and kind of have our pulse on that. I think a lot of them have checked out.
Yeah.
Like you say, silver lining. I'm not sure they care.
I know.
Which is kind of wild, but I understand because it's just a frustrating. It's with all these fumbles and all these mistakes. I think obviously the players and the coaches are frustrated. Everyone's frustrated.
Right.
But on the flip side, if you're a Miami fan, I know that Georgia Tech game was so frustrating. And there's no shame in going to lose at North Carolina, even though, of course, UNC has to go lose to Virginia, but whatever. The point is, though, I think Miami as a program, this was a really mature win.
Right.
You don't have TVD. Right. You have this young freshman who hasn't played. And you find a way. Mm-hmm. You rush for 200 yards and you hold Clemson to 31 rushing yards, which you're not going to win anything doing that. So I think if you're Miami, you lost Georgia Tech and that really hurt your season. No doubt. But I think you can learn a lot about maybe where your program is headed from this win if you're a Miami fan.
No, I don't think any question. I mean, the foundation that Miami has laid is impressive. And we've spoken about these young players before. I've spoken about Ruben Bain a lot. But now you see it with Emory Williams. Now you see it with these other young players, a couple of running backs as well. Obviously, Francis, Maui Noah at right tackle. Ooh. I mean, they are watch out, okay?
Yeah.
Just keep letting them build. Let Coach Cristobal get this culture where he wants it to be. Because that was a culture type game to me.
Exactly.
The way that they did it, 5-6 sacks, 200 yards rushing. That's what Miami wants to be. Total 31, like you said, only giving up 31 yards. This is a picture perfect snapshot of how Coach Cristobal wants this team to look each and every week against anybody, ranked team, unranked team. That's what he wants, and super impressive to see it. I do have to give love to the crowd as well. They were juiced up. It wasn't full.
It wasn't full. Yeah, that's what we saw on TV.
But they were loud. It was probably it says about 75% on ESPN here. They were loud. Like when they were doing stuff, rocking. And it was fun to see that. It's a hard town. There's so much to do in Miami. So it's hard to get that place packed out. But when they show up, they get after it. So massive win for Miami and mathematically keeping their hopes alive for Charlotte. We'll see. It's a crazy season. Virginia's out here beating North Carolina. Who knows what can happen?
Who knows?
So we'll see. But, it is interesting for them who they play. When you look at Miami's schedule, I know we're spending a ton of time here, but they do play Louisville. They obviously play Florida State. So I think they kind of control their own destiny with that. So it'll be interesting to see what can they do there.
They technically don't if UNC wins out.
I guess they already played North Carolina. Right.
Yeah, if UNC wins out. But that's very possible that they don't. And then you got something to work with. Okay, let's talk about UNC. Virginia beats number 10 North Carolina. What a ridiculous statement. But shout out to Virginia,
Big
31
shout out.
to 27. And
Yeah.
look, you and I have been saying this about Virginia all year long, that they are better than their record because they've played so many close games.
Yeah.
And since the Tennessee loss, 3 of Virginia's 4 losses had come by 3 or fewer points.
Right.
Now,
Right.
were they losing to great teams? No.
Yeah.
But they were in these games. So they were building. They were trying to build that confidence. They just weren't able to do it. Now, did we think they were going to put it all together against North Carolina? No. But I think just Mac, this is such a UNC. I hate to say this, but this is a UNC thing to do.
Typical.
Like, you get off to your best start in program history, you beat Miami, everyone's feeling great, and then you do this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just thought UNC was past this. I really did.
I wasn't so sure about that.
Yeah, you took Virginia to cover. Shout out to Matt.
Right. And again, well, even just, I did not think they were going to lose. Let me not say that at all. I didn't think there was any chance of that. Now, did I think they'd win by 24? No, I did not. But I did not think that they were going to lose.
You were
And
right.
it was
Well,
just,
Mac, all these Tar Heel fans try to remind me all the time that UNC covers, so they got in my head.
how about now? How about now, UNC? You cover now? Yeah, also all those fans that want me to, put them number one and tell me I don't know anything about football. We'll see where you are this week. We'll find out real quick. You won't be too happy about it, I don't think. But,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm with you. I thought that UNC was getting close to moving past that. I thought that they were playing at a high level and maybe even talking myself into, are they a more complete team than Florida State? After this game, no. But again, it's such a one sample size, right? Like, every team has their day. I mean, if you would have asked me that after Boston College, I would have probably said, yeah. But it just happens. And of course, obviously, Florida State won that game.
You got to do it every week.
And I think that's the difference. You've said that a couple of times, KG. Teams that go on to win championships get in games like this, yet find a way to win.
Find a way.
Like, they face adversity at its worst moment and somehow, some way pull out a victory and move on, survive and advance. And North Carolina wasn't able to do that. Could not stop the run. I mean, we hadn't seen this in forever from North Carolina. Maybe App State. App State ran it pretty well. But we didn't expect it at all, especially Virginia, to run it for 230-plus yards. There's no way that I expected to see that. So massive shout-out to them. The game plan was electric, was really fun and exciting. Mike Hollins, 3 touchdowns and running like a madman. He's
one of the best stories in all of sports.
It really is super exciting. And then, of course, Malik Washington, I mean, unguardable. 12 catches. How about this duel between Malik and Tez? 12 catches, 115 yards and a touchdown, 11 catches, 146 yards and a touchdown. I mean, just freaky wide receiver play. Probably, arguably the 2 of the 3 best receivers in the league in this game here. And then you look at North Carolina, you look at Drake May, around 50%. I think he was actually right at 50% passing. Not great, yet still 340-plus yards, a couple of touchdowns, the pick to seal it. I really thought, KG, we were going to have a Heisman moment.
This was going to be a Heisman. Yes. We just
thought it was going to walk it off. I thought it was going to walk it off and
I thought surely UNC will survive this.
And his freaking offensive line just let him down. I mean, a guy just absolutely gets annihilated. Probably one of the more embarrassing, whiff techniques, especially the impact of the play. And he gets drilled. The ball comes out. Probably could have been argued that it was a fumble. And, linebacker catches it. Pitt, game over. And that's tough. It's really tough. So interesting to see how they respond because we're headed to Atlanta. We're going to see them live in person, play Georgia Tech, a Georgia Tech team that has given them everything and more that they have ever wanted the last 2 times that they play them. So what kind of response will we see from them? But also, what are we going to see from Georgia Tech? Because they lost as well, KG.
We're getting to that game. You bring up Virginia running the ball. I thought this stat was insane. Virginia came in averaging 99.5 rushing yards per game, worst in the ACC, 122nd in FBS. Wow. Virginia ran for 228 yards against North Carolina, with Hollins, Muskett, and Paris Jones all running for at least 60 yards.
Yeah.
The UNC defense is so much better than this. I think the only way to explain this, and Mac Brown, took some blame after the game. I think the only way to explain it is you weren't ready. You weren't focused.
Right.
And give Virginia credit. I'm not trying to not give Virginia credit, but they made the plays.
Yeah.
And they did this on the road. But obviously, UNC's just not there.
Right.
They're not there yet. to avoid this kind of just head-scratching loss.
And that's what I go back to, just absolutely ticks me off.
Yeah.
Because teams, KG, you play a certain way, you play a certain standard, and you've got to stay to that. Like, it should never
Every week.
matter if you want to win a championship, who you're playing, what they do, what their record is. That should never be the case. And I know that's easy for me to sit here and say, not being in a locker room
But
and
you did
all these
it,
different
Matt.
things.
You
But
were on a team that had an undefeated regular season. You did it.
That's what we did that year. And we truly did
know
not
what it
care who
takes.
we played. We did not take care who we played, and we played to where we were. And guess what? If you couldn't match it, you were going to get embarrassed. And, I just wish that, these guys in the moment could just understand that, because it is so special when you can have a run like that and win and or play in championships. It's something you'll never forget. So, we'll see. Hopefully they learn from it. Obviously takes a little bit of control out of it for you, not being undefeated from an ACC, but also from a national, playoff and New Year's Six type of deal.
Yeah. It's just, gosh, you're right though, Mac. It's such an opportunity.
Yeah.
That you may have squandered.
Right.
Ugh, brutal. UNC fans are just hating us right now. They're probably turning it off. Okay, let's talk about, you mentioned Georgia Tech. Boston College beats Georgia Tech. Well, this is the one game that we both got right. We love that. Boston College beats Georgia Tech 38-23. Scored 21 points in the fourth quarter, by the way. Castellanos, who's from Georgia, has his return. He passes for 255. He rushes for 128. Just another day at the office for Thomas Castellanos. And I like this quote, Matt. We can talk more about the game, but this quote, he says, I will say this, we're turning this thing around. Boston College football is back. We're no longer the laughing stock of the ACC. I thought that was a little harsh to call your own program the laughing stock of the ACC. That kind of cracked me up. But shout out to BC. This is a team that you and I both had dead in the water after losing to Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
And they're 4-3. They're looking to make a bowl. I was impressed with BC.
Hey, listen, first of all, a couple of things here. My hot take is going to come true real quick. These guys are going to be bowl eligible in 2 weeks.
That's right.
Just
you
get
did.
ready.
Yes.
It's happening. Get ready. Come on. Where are we going, BC? That's what I want to know.
Where are we going?
The second thing that I want to bring up before we jump into this game, next year, if BC only loses one more game, bowl game not included, which I think is very possible, is Thomas Castellanos on the preseason Heisman list? Like top
Should be.
10.
With his numbers? Heck yeah.
Right? Maybe? Okay. The last thing. Haynes King thought that he was Lamar Jackson out here. 150 yards rushing, 71-yard touchdown. That dude was so fast, like an electric. I was just like, what are we watching? This is
Who
insane.
are these guys?
Both these teams, 300 yards rushing for BC, 250 for Georgia Tech. Nobody wanted to tackle. Nobody wanted to run fit. I mean, it was absolutely nuts. But huge credit to Boston College. Again, Thomas Castellanos. Eddie Royal said it a couple of weeks ago. I think I'm on the train with him. You can join us if you want, KG. The most electric player in the ACC with the ball in his hands. I mean, this dude can just take over and has a rocket launcher of an arm. I mean, he can make some crazy throws. I'm excited to see what this young man can really turn into. I thought early in the season he was too immature, celebrating. They're down 20 points. He's celebrating, dancing, saying, I'm him. I'm like, bro, listen, y'all are getting killed. You need to lock in right now. But that's just his swag. That's who he is. And I think he's kind of channeled that a little bit better, understands the moments, understands what he can do. And he's been the guy. No question about it. I only have to think of, if he was the guy the whole time, what would BC be right now?
Well, you at least wouldn't have the Northern Illinois loss, I would have to think.
Well, at minimum.
So you'd be 5-2 at least.
At least, which is amazing.
Ifs and buts.
When you look at that, that's right.
Well, Mac, you bring up Haynes King, though. The issue for Georgia Tech, too, is the 3 picks. Like that's going to kill you in the end. I know Haynes King out here thinking he's Lamar Jackson, but those 3 picks really hurt them.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. And again, the one, I mean, it was one of the best plays I've ever seen by the BC defender. He throws the ball, it just like sticks to his hip. And then no one knows he has it. He barely knows he has it. He sprints in for the touchdown. He's like, whoa, where'd this come from? This is amazing. And then, of course, others just not timely at all. And you're just kind of sitting there like, don't be Superman. Just play the game. Play within the game and do the things necessary. But huge shout out to BC. I mean, these guys, I'm not joking when I talk about can they potentially win out. We're talking about UConn at Syracuse versus Virginia Tech, which I think that'll be a little bit more difficult. At Pitt, who knows what that game will be. And then Miami, look out. Look out for these guys, what they're going to do.
That's why Mac was saying that, because the schedule's so manageable. You have UConn at home next week. You're already a 12-point favorite. So, I mean, look, nothing's guaranteed.
They're favored over Syracuse, too, I'm pretty sure. I saw somebody tweeting about that earlier.
Probably
I think they're 3.5 over Syracuse.
The only issue I see for them in terms of winning out is, I mean, obviously Miami. And I know you were saying, like, they lose that one maybe. Pitt and Syracuse on the road.
Yeah.
You know, that could be tough. But
who knows?
They're going bowling. For dang sure.
They're going bowling.
For dang sure, Mac. Okay. Last game. And probably one of the weirdest. Pitt and Wake. In a game where Mac and I said, Vegas, you don't know, which that's always not.
They
not
really
a good sign.
shouldn't, honestly. They really shouldn't know. This is crazy.
They shouldn't. And this was a crazy game with Wake Forest's first two quarterbacks out. Unreal. And I think, Mac, my big takeaway with this game is, and I want to get the timing right here. You throw a pick, if you're Wake, Marucci throws a pick with 1:03 left in the game, and you win, and you're down 3. You flip the other way. Pitt picks off Wake with a 3-point lead with 1:03 to go in the game, and you don't win. That's like physically impossible.
Well, let's walk through it. What happened?
The penalty.
So that pick happens, and that's
just crazy.
Silly. I'm trying not to be very aggressive or rude here. Silly play. This young man is like ripping off Jamal Banks' shoulder, like throwing him on the sideline. And I'm just like, what are you possibly thinking? I think he got kicked out of the game. I think he got removed. Like they said he was trying to hurt him, and they kicked him out of the game. 15 yards, back it up.
Yep.
And there might have been something else. There might have been 2 penalties on that play.
There were 2 penalties on the drive.
Yeah, so you're in horrible field position. You're running the ball. You're trying to eat up clock, Wake Forest, blah, blah, blah. And then there's like a 3rd and 10 where they get a holding. So you get a free timeout, back it up even more.
Yep.
But I think they declined it. So they didn't. Wake Forest didn't take it. So now it is 3rd and 10. And Vare escapes and has the easiest 3rd down conversion ever. Unbelievable play call by Signetti there. Wide open. Beautiful. And the refs say that he initiates the slide 1.5 yards short.
What did you think of that, Mac?
Lost my mind. Now, listen, we do not have a great angle. Like, we have the game angle, which you can see it pretty good, but we do not have like a straight down the line. I don't think there. And to me, KG, you don't call it there. You don't call it in that situation. There was nobody. Number one, he could have kept running. I guess the coaching point is you should have kept running. Number 2, to me, he slows down, and people are sending me all these screenshots. It's so funny.
I'm sure.
He slows down at the point that everyone's sending me the screenshots. Slowing down and initiating a slide are not the same thing. I can slow down before I cut. I can slow down. I'm not sliding. I'm slowing down. And so I don't think you call it there. It's when his leg is in the air, and that's when it happens to me, which is clearly in front of the 1st down marker, the 10-yard marker, whatever you want to call that. Conversion, go, game over, Pitt wins.
And that would have ended the game. Effectively.
It's over. And so, to me, the fact that that's how the game ended, at least from that standpoint.
Well,
now,
got
listen,
the ball back to Wake,
This is very similar to Georgia Tech and Miami. Wake Forest still had to go down and score.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the negative parts about that, and it stinks that it happened. But here's the deal: do not put the game in the referee's hands.
Right.
Anybody, you got to take over yourself. Don't make it questionable at all. So I'm going to close the book on Pitt.
Leave
there.
no
That
doubt.
sucks. Sorry for you guys.
Wait, pause with Pitt.
Sorry. Excuse me. I'm back.
Is this 2021 ACC Championship fake slide karma?
Eddie Royal said that. He said, "Fake slide hits you with the too early slide.
Fake slide karma."
Yeah, he said that.
Just saying. Just saying. Just put it out.
Should have done a fake slide. Unbelievable. It's illegal, but should have done it. Would they have called it? If someone fake slides, will they call it?
I don't know.
I don't think anyone.
I don't know if they have the guts, especially at that point in the game. But anyway, okay. Talk about Wake
to mark them short. Anyway, so now looking at Wake, I'll just start on that last drive there because the clock management the plan was
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable. I mean, that was textbook.
Yeah.
Like how to win a game, how to have zero possibility to win a game, and then how to do it defensively, all these different. And I know a little luck took place,
You
but
need
then
a
once
little
you
luck.
got the ball, it was beautiful. Like they had it. I would have loved to hear the headsets too, kind of like Notre Dame did a couple of weeks ago.
They should
Duke.
release that. Oh, that would be fun.
That would be so cool because it was flawless. And then for Santino to make the throw that he did, like it was a first read route, tight end, sweet kind of bender, whatever, and he threw it on the money. I mean, it was
The
picture
catch
perfect.
was amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Unbelievable drive. Hopefully they can build on that. I will say the way the game looked from a running perspective, they rushed for 172 yards. I thought that's more of what Wake would be able to do all year. Claiborne and Ellison, I mean, they're great backs, and I hope that we do see more from them throughout this season. But maybe this is a launching point for Wake Forest. Your reward for winning this game is you get to play Florida State next. So have fun. You've won like 4 years in a row against them, though, 3 or 4 years. So
True.
Who knows? Maybe we'll have another Go ACC moment.
Where did Santino come from?
He was buried very deep on the bench.
Yes, he was. Oh my goodness, that's incredible. I mean, that's why we love college football. We love those types of stories.
Yeah, it was awesome, and it was fun. We got to talk to him.
Moment.
We got to talk to him on the huddle, and it was funny. We kind of asked him. I think EJ might have asked him. What were you saying to the guys for that last drive? He said, I just shut up and listened. I wasn't saying anything, which was cool, which was super cool. And then, of course, he walks it off for a dub for his first game.
Yeah, what a cool moment. Look at that. Well, Wake Forest gets it done. Crazy week. I mean, North Carolina, Clemson, whatever. But it was fun, and it was entertaining, and that's what we want, Mac. And we've got more games next week, less teams on buys, so
that's right.
A lot more to get to. And let me just say, some special episodes coming this week. Can we say that?
Yes.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned, friends.
I'm going to tell everybody. Actually, no, I'm laying it out here because we need the people's help. We are going to do, first of all, we're having a basketball episode. Super excited. Clemson preview for our friends over at Ingles. Clemson is playing in the Asheville Championship up there, so Ingles has a big part to do with that. So we've pushed it out. You're going to see it starting on social media. Wednesday, that episode is dropping. So our typical guest episode, we're filling that there. And then on Thursday, we're going to do a mailbag episode. So we need you guys to participate. We want to hear everything, especially after this weekend. This is going to be fun. This is going to be perfect. We need all the questions after this weekend. I promise it's not going to be just Clemson. Everybody else, get your questions in here. There might be a little orange in there, but everybody get involved with that. That's going to be super fun. And then, of course, our normal Friday where we're previewing the entire weekend, telling you what to expect, telling you who to pick, and hopefully – nobody's hitting the BW3s button, making weird stuff happen where we lose on the last second of these spreads, KG. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Look, Mac's being humble, but he's still 35-23 against the spread.
Should have been better.
That's really good. We both went 2-3 this week. I'm 31-27, but Mac is still very good against the spread.
We'll be better. We'll be better this week, I promise. Anyway, guys, that's it from us. Thank you for hanging out. Crazy weekend, one of the craziest that I can remember in recent history in the ACC, and got a feeling we're going to have more. But I keep hinting about we're going to have some heartbreak in these next couple of weeks as we get into this conference play, and it gets deeper and deeper there with these teams. But thank you for tuning in. Great shout out or big shout out to our friends over at Ingles for making all this possible. And we need your help. We need you to go over to YouTube to subscribe to this channel. Have some fun. You got to see the faces I'm making when I'm just ticked off about what's happening across this league.
You got to see my Taylor Cup for the haters.
One of a kind. No one else has that. Only KG. Very special. One of a kind cup there. We also need you to go over to Apple Podcasts, rate, review, subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that. But until next time, we'll see y'all.